It all began in the quiet of a garage. On a cool evening, with the world hushed outside, a single light bulb cast a lonely circle of light. Beneath it stood a simple wooden table, its surface scarred with small nicks. On this table, a woman named Elena worked. She was a single mother, moving through the quiet hours of the night while her young child slept soundly. Learning to make candles was a lesson in patience. Eleanor did not have a mentor or a teacher to guide her. She had small, worn-out books from the local library and a handful of articles she found online. She learned through trial and error, through nights filled with small failures and even smaller victories. She would melt the wax, her face close to the pot, watching for the exact moment it turned from solid to liquid. She would add the scented oil, drop by drop, learning how a little too much could overwhelm and a little too little would disappear into nothing. The garage became her classroom, and the ingredients were her unforgiving tutors. There were so many mistakes in those early days. Some batches of wax refused to set properly, leaving a soft, messy puddle in the jar. Other times, the wicks she chose would burn too quickly, creating a tunnel down the center of the candle, leaving most of the precious wax untouched. The first sale felt like a miracle. Elena took a small basket of her best candles to a local weekend craft market. She set up a tiny table, her heart pounding with a mix of hope and fear. People walked by, some glancing, others ignoring her completely. Then, a woman stopped. She picked up a lavender candle, opened the lid, and breathed in.
A slow smile spread across her face. "This is lovely," she said, handing Elena a few dollars.
She took that money home and placed it in a large, clear glass jar on a dusty wooden shelf in the garage. That jar became her first bank account. With every small sale that followed, a neighbor, a friend from her child's school, another customer at the market, she would add the coins and bills to the jar. Watching it fill, even by the smallest amounts, was like watching a seed sprout. It was tangible proof that she was building something. The sound of a coin dropping into the jar was the sound of her dream growing stronger. As word of mouth spread, the demand for her candles slowly but surely grew. Small local boutiques started placing orders, 10 candles, then 20, then 50. The garage, once a space of quiet creation, began to transform into a miniature warehouse. The scent of melting wax mingled with the smell of cardboard. Stacks of empty boxes reached toward the ceiling, waiting to be filled. The work shifted from a solitary craft to a small-scale production line she managed all by herself. The process of packaging and branding became its own art form. She designed simple, clean labels with a soft, warm font. She chose sturdy, recyclable boxes and learned to pack each candle securely so it would survive its journey to the shops. Late at night, after the candles had cooled, she would sit at her table, tying a small piece of twine around each box and attaching a handwritten thank you note. With the growth came a new kind of exhaustion. The nights grew longer, bleeding into the early hours of the morning. She would finish one shift, pick up her child, make dinner, and then, once the house was quiet, retreat to the garage for her second shift. There were nights she would fall asleep at the table, her head resting on her arms, surrounded by cooling candles and stacks of boxes. The day a buyer from a regional chain of boutique stores came to her door was a turning point. He had discovered one of her candles in a tiny shop. He was captivated by its simple elegance and clean, authentic scent. He didn't just want to place an order, he wanted to understand the story behind it. Eleanor, nervous but proud, showed him her garage operation, the stacks of boxes, the photo of her child. She spoke honestly about her process, her commitment to quality ingredients, the long nights. The buyer listened to the integrity in her voice. The order he placed was larger than all her previous orders combined. That single order was the catalyst for change. It was too big for the garage, too much for one person to handle alone. With a mix of terror and excitement, Elena took her first real leap of faith. She used the deposit to rent a small dedicated workshop space and hire her first 2 employees. She chose them carefully, looking for people who shared her values of care and attention to detail. She taught them how to make the candles. She taught them why they made them the way they did. The quiet solitude of the garage was replaced by the gentle hum of a small team working together. She established a rigorous quality control process, checking wax temperatures, smelling scent batches, inspecting wicks, and burn testing for an even melt pool and a clean flame. With the bigger orders came bigger finances. For the first time, Elena had to think about payroll, bulk supply chains, profit margins. She bought a small money-counting machine. The first time she used it, the soft whirring sound felt both surreal and deeply satisfying. It was the sound of her hard work turning into real, sustainable success. Success did not come without a price. As her brand grew more visible, it began to attract unwanted attention. Copycats emerged, mimicked her simple packaging, tried to replicate her scents, used cheaper, lower-quality ingredients. It was heartbreaking for Eleanor to see pale imitations on store shelves. At first, it made her angry. Then it made her more determined. Others could copy her look, but they could never copy her story, or the genuine care she poured into every candle. She doubled down on authenticity, sharing her story more openly so customers knew they were buying the real thing. The pressures of scaling led to mistakes. One large batch of wax from a new supplier was subtly different. An entire week's worth of candles burned improperly. A critical shipment to a major client was delayed, threatening a valuable relationship. These moments were incredibly stressful. Elena learned to be calm and decisive, solving problems under pressure without panicking. She spent long nights on the phone with suppliers, negotiated with frustrated clients, personally oversaw remaking entire orders. The biggest cost was personal. The business demanded almost all of her time and energy. She had built the company for her child, but it often took her away from them. She missed school plays, missed parent-teacher meetings, missed simple, quiet evenings at home. The guilt was a heavy weight. The strain affected her relationships. Friendships faded from neglect. Her world became smaller, confined to the factory and its demands. Some days the dream felt like a burden, overshadowed by payroll, logistics, and managing a growing team. Through all the growth and the challenges, Eleanor held onto a core set of values that became the unchanging wick of her company. First and foremost was an unwavering commitment to quality. While competitors cut corners to lower costs, she invested more in the best ingredients she could find: clean-burning soy wax, natural essential oils, lead-free cotton wicks. She knew that the feeling of trust a customer had when they lit one of her candles was her most valuable asset. This dedication to quality wasn't a marketing strategy. It was a deeply held belief that her customers deserved the very best, and she refused to compromise on that promise. Another core value was the importance of honest work. She built a company culture where every employee was respected and valued. She paid fair wages. She created a safe, supportive work environment. She believed that the positive energy of her team would be infused into the products they made. Empathy for her customers was also at the heart of everything she did. She insisted on keeping a range of her products affordable. Her customer service team was trained to listen with compassion and to solve problems with grace. She read customer emails and reviews personally, using their feedback not just to fix issues, but to better understand the lives she was touching. These values, quality, honest work, empathy, were her compass. When faced with a difficult decision, she would ask herself which path best honored these principles. These values were not just words on a mission statement. They were the active, breathing soul of her brand. They were the steady flame that guided her through the complexities of success and kept her company grounded in the humanity from which it was born. One morning, Elena saw an article in a business journal. It was a simple black and white column, but it contained a number that seemed to belong to another world. $500 million. That was the estimated value of the company she had started on a dusty table in her garage. There was no grand celebration, no popping of champagne corks. She sat alone in her quiet office, the early morning light streaming through the window, and a single tear traced a path down her cheek. She reached into her desk drawer and pulled out the old empty glass jar that had once held her first earnings. She held it in her hands. It was a quiet victory, a feeling too deep for noise. The evidence of her success was everywhere, yet it felt beautifully simple. Candles on shelves in stores across the country, close-ups of clean labels and soft colors, people noticing them on a shelf, a small ritual in people's homes, letters from customers, a scent reminding someone of a loved one. Letters. Lighting a candle was the only moment of peace in a busy day. These stories were worth more to her than any financial valuation. The old, creased photograph of her and her child was now in a beautiful silver frame on her desk. Her child was older now, a young adult with a bright future ahead of them, a future she had helped build one candle at a time. Nearby, on the wall, was a framed collage of photos, the faces of her first employees, the small team that had believed in her, the humming factory floor, a stack of the first big checks that had felt so impossibly large. These were not trophies of wealth, but artifacts of a journey. That morning, Eleanor didn't go to a board meeting. Instead, she drove to her old house and used the original key to let herself into the garage. It was empty now, but the faint scent of wax still clung to the air. The story of the Candle Queen, as some came to call her, is not really about the money. The $500 million is just a number, a headline. The real story is about the human heart behind the brand. It's a story about how small, consistent acts of care can build something monumental. It's a reminder that integrity is a powerful force in business and in life. The company's success came because Elena never forgot the feeling of that first imperfect candle she lit in her garage. The feeling of creating a small pocket of warmth and peace in a world that can often feel cold and dark. People often asked for her secret, hoping for a simple formula for success. She would always give a simple answer. Do the work. Care about the people you serve. And never ever compromise on the things that matter most. Her journey shows us that the path to extraordinary success is often paved with ordinary, everyday choices. It's in the decision to use a better ingredient. It's in the decision to write a thank you note. It's in the decision to listen with empathy. It's in the decision to keep going when you are tired. The garage taught her to be resourceful. The late nights taught her perseverance. The small wins taught her gratitude. Today, the company she built does more than just sell candles. It provides stable, meaningful jobs for thousands of people. It supports communities through charitable giving. It mentors young entrepreneurs, especially women, teaching them that their quiet, heartfelt ideas have value. The company stands as a beacon of conscious capitalism, proving that you can build a hugely successful enterprise without losing your soul. The small table from the garage is now preserved in the lobby of the company headquarters, a constant reminder to everyone who works there of their humble, honest beginnings. If you happen to light one of her candles today, take a moment to look at the flame. In its soft, steady glow, you can see the reflection of a much larger story. You can feel the warmth of a mother's love. You can feel the resilience of a woman who refused to give up. You can feel the quiet power of a dream that was nurtured in the dark.